What is up? Thank you, Michael. I appreciate the shout out from the kids' table. Hey, so one of the reasons I am on this stage is because we are also going to record this, because you are not the only volunteers that make this up. In case you looked around and like, what are we doing? There are over 100 volunteers that make up what we are attempting and will successfully pull off here in a couple of weeks. So, just to give you a scope of what this is, first of all, if we have not officially met, because I know some of you signed up, maybe your first time at a kids thing. I'm Bryce. I hold the role of what we call Kidlife pastor. That really means that I deal with all the stuff nobody else wants to deal with sometimes. And that will officially be my role at VBS as well. So as much as we want you to lead your teams, myself as well as some of the leadership team will introduce you to. We are there to carry some of that load, because we want this to be a great experience not only for your kids but for you as well. We want you to leave and hopefully feeling like, hey, this is something I would do again, or maybe on a more regular basis. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But we'll get there eventually, because we want to talk about how do we make this work really well, and how do we make this really successful? Because believe it or not, this is, by all accounts, this is the largest venture of this kind that Real Life has ever tried. So we've never done a VBS here. We've never done a VBS this large, and we've never done anything for kids this extensive with this number of kids. So I say that to say that there are, right now, as it sits and registration is officially closed, you know how that works sometimes, you get that phone call, but the right people call and you answer and their kids magically are in VBS. So I'm not saying it will be hugely different, but right now, as we sit, there are 292 kids registered from what is those entering first grade to sixth grade in the fall. So now, just to put that in context, that's not necessarily just one kid you're impacting, right? Think about that. You're impacting their family, you're impacting sometimes their friends, you're impacting their brother or sister who may or may not be in attendance with them. Because here's the thing, if you know, maybe we'll just have a heart-to-heart here for a second. Honestly, not the biggest fan of VBS as it traditionally stood. So, in fact, I'll just, full admission, I killed the last VBS at the church I was at, and here's why. Because it was babysitting. It was a bunch of volunteers, honestly, trying to love on kids who had often been through the same VBS and whose parents were just dropping them off. So, what I'm really excited about, and we'll get to this here in a schedule in a minute, is Thursday. Thursday is actually the biggest win of this whole thing, because really we're doing this as much to impact kids as we are families. So our hope is that you guys are in this to say, I'm not just here to impact that one kid or those kids that are part of your crew, but you're here to impact a whole family and to honestly change some of their trajectory about what that looks like for them, because that to me is where we win. Yes, it's great that we have kids and it's great that they come and learn Bible lessons. That's awesome. But if we can actually change a family, that to me is where our much bigger win is. And so I'm excited that you guys are a part of this, because we're going to do something pretty incredible. And I do believe that when we look back, it's not going to be just one thing where we're like, oh, that was awesome. It's going to be thing after thing after thing. It's going to be a lot of baptisms, hopefully. Not that we're forcing kids to get baptized, but that we get to have those conversations. That honestly, there's a possibility that we may have to change what Thursday looks like because we got a lot of kids that want to get baptized. Like, that's possible, right? I mean, there are so many things that come out of this that we don't know what God's going to do, but we know if we show up, He will too. And so if we show up well, it provides opportunities for Him to flourish, and it provides opportunities for you guys to get to see that. So let's talk through what is this VBS thing we're going to do. Because people often ask, okay, well, they want to know really when it comes down to what's the curriculum, and that's all fair. But our biggest takeaway for kids is this, and we'll put it up on the screen there so you can see it. We want kids to learn to see themselves the way that God sees them, to have confidence in who they are. If a kid leaves knowing that they are a child of God, we have won. If a kid leaves knowing that someone else sees that in them, we've won even more. Right? And you get to be that conduit for them. Not that their parents haven't said that, but honestly, we get to give them confidence in how God's gifted them and how God's made them and how God's designed them. And we get to see that in a lot of ways because VBS has so many components. It's got stuff for kids who are super tactile and love crafts. It's got stuff for kids who are really thinkers and love to talk. It's got stuff for kids who just want to run and often are those kids that you're like, oh, that kid. But yet they connect, right? You know those kids, don't lie to me. But they all connect differently. We've got music. We've got fun teaching and lessons. We've got something that we believe will connect with every kid and start to bring out what is it they're really good at, and you get to help them identify some of that just by seeing, dude, you were actually really great at that craft, or man, you're pretty fast. Like, that was great when you played that game. That you get to be a part of that, and you get to see through their eyes who God made them to be and help them to see that as well. And so we're super excited about that. So let's talk about what does VBS look like and what does the schedule look like? Now, as far as this schedule goes, we're going to talk through some stuff everybody needs to know. So the whole program, kind of what it is, so we all have an idea. Then from there, we're going to break out briefly into smaller groups, meaning small group leaders, the reason you're seated where you are in boombox, turntable, and beats, which we'll get to, is because you're going to stay here for a little bit with me. We're going to talk through what does it look like to lead a small group. We have a crafts team. We have a check-in team. So if you're part of a check-in team, in fact, I'll just introduce all these people who are leading these because I think that's fair. If you're part of the check-in team, Erin Lyles, who was, I saw her somewhere. Where's Erin at? If I say people's names, they show up. It's amazing. I have this. So this is Erin right here. Erin's on staff with us. She's not on staff in this role. She is volunteering her time and talents to help lead our check-in team. Okay, now let me help you understand, and she'll talk a little bit and show you where check-in's going to happen and all that. But check-in is vitally important because we got to know who we got. Because I guarantee you, if a parent shows up to pick up their kid and we don't know where their kid's at, they're not coming back, and then we have no opportunity to impact them, let alone them come back to church. So check-in is huge because we're going to use the same system we do on the weekends, where they check in, they get tags, we know who's here, we use rosters, but it fuels what you do as small group leaders, what you do as people in crafts, because then we know if we have an issue, we can help deal with it. So Erin is leading check-in. Some of you are part of a check-in team, so some of you are check-in, which is on the bags you got. Your check-in and crafts, because check-in is roughly 15 minutes into our program, 20 minutes, and then you go to the thing that you're signed up for. A few of you are only check-in because we need your hands and your abilities to help navigate just some of the behind-the-scenes things, which she'll talk to you a little bit about as well. But a lot of you are dual role. So if you're check-in, when we break out, you're going to go talk to her, and then we're going to have you check in with the other areas. So we also have a crafts team, which is led by the prettiest gal in the room, Kara Hudson. She happens to be my wife. Oh, isn't that nice? But she is leading crafts, and so if you're part of the crafts team, that's going to be up in the loft. We'll show you some stuff here in a minute. We have also a games team. I don't think Bailey's in here right now, but Bailey is leading that. Where's Zane and Michael? So Zane and Michael you guys can stand up. So Zane and Michael have a dual role. They're going to help Bailey with games, but part of the reason they're helping Bailey with games is because before we start, they have the Zane and Michael show. So literally it is called the Zane and Michael show. That is its name. And Zane and Michael will stand up on stage while kids enter and do ridiculous things. Like, that's pretty much the sum total of what they will do. So they will be there to engage kids, to get them excited, to get them pumped up, and then they'll go help with games. So let's just say I've purchased more inflatable costumes than I ever thought I would. So it could be a thing. I'm not saying there's a shark, but I'm not saying there's not. And I'm also not saying there's a fish taco. It's a thing. You'll find out. So, but Zane and Michael are helping with games. Bailey, who also is our student life director, you'll get to know him if you're a part of games. So then we also have our small group / snack team, which Miss Jen Vitek, right there in the back. Miss Jen is leading that team, which will happen right in here. She is not leading your small groups. She is helping to facilitate small groups you are leading by giving you snacks and water, by giving you resources if that's something that we can't bag and you carry around with you. We'll talk about all that here in a little bit. So she is leading that team. And then we have our small group teams. So we have our team Boombox. So Team Boombox is our youngest age group, roughly. Now, these are generalities, but is first and second graders in the fall. So those who are entering first and second grade are part of that team. That is being spearhead and led by Miss Amanda McNatt, which is, where's Amanda at? Oh, there she is. So that's Amanda, just so you put an eye on her. So part of what our crew coordinators are doing is to make sure that you as small group leaders have everything you need. So all the coordinators are really there to facilitate you to do the things that God's called you to do. The next team, the middle grades, if you will, which is Team Beats. If you're not aware, Beats are also headphones. It might be Tisha. If you don't know Tisha, Tisha is also on staff here. She does connections, but she's also just volunteering her time. That's the cool thing about this is a group of people who just want to see kids know Jesus more. And so Tisha's leading that team, which is roughly 3rd to 4th grade-ish. And then our oldest age group led by Miss Gabby. So some of you know Gabby is our elementary coordinator. So she is leading what is 5th to 6th grade. So just to give you an idea of what those are and how that breaks down, those are leaders. I don't think I've missed any of my other leaders that are coordinators. I think I got it all in my head written down. So, and then I will. Oh, I did miss somebody. I don't know why. She's back in the sound booth. She is Miss Deborah Loof. If you don't know her. She helps to lead our Kidlife worship team on the weekends and is doing the same for us during VBS. So she'll have a team during the beginning when we do worship. We'll talk through that here in a minute of what that looks like. So her and her team. So you may have some kids who are part of your crew that are also part of our onstage worship team. So they'll be a part of that and they'll come back to your crew as part of that. So let's talk through just generalities. What does the schedule look like? What are we teaching? So on Monday, all of these are all about confidence. We are talking about who is Jesus? Who did he see in others? And this idea that I have confidence because I am known. So you should have a sheet of paper that has a schedule on it as well as a list of these on the bottom to give you an idea of what's happening when. The second night, Tuesday, we're talking about how he called the disciples. And this idea that I can have confidence because I belong, because Jesus called me to something important. Is the idea there. The third night, we're talking about the classic Zacchaeus, and this idea that I can have confidence because I'm forgiven. Because that's the biggest thing we learn out of Zacchaeus' story, is that Jesus looked at him. Now, just to be clear, that Wednesday night is a big night because we will also talk salvation with them. Now, here's the thing. We're talking salvation, we're sending them home, and then Thursday night, like I told you earlier, is probably our biggest win because Thursday night is when we encourage, and you got to help us do this, we encourage parents to attend with their kids. Here's why. Parents will come to large group, which will start in Building A. We'll get to that here in a minute. They start there. As you take your crews and rotate, parents stay in Building A, and we get to walk through what does it look like to help your kids take the next step? What does it look like to be a parent in realistic terms, and how do we enable them to do that? And we get to talk through salvation, we get to talk through baptism with parents, and how do they lead their kids through that process. And so it's going to be a lot of fun with those parents, but we want them there on that Thursday night to attend. We will bait them with dessert and coffee and parent stuff to stay there. We will also bait them with some incentives that their kids may get if they attend. So needless to say, I am shameless when it comes to trying to get parents to be a part of this. So whatever it takes, I will do it. If I got to throw money at their kids or these prizes, I can do that. Just because we know that when we impact the parent, we impact the whole family. And that's really our biggest win in this whole thing. And so that last night, we're talking about I can have confidence because I can make a difference. And we're talking about the 99 and going after the 1. And the idea that every kid, every family has a 1 that they can go after. Somebody that they know who's lost that needs to be found. And so we're excited about what that looks like and ending that night with honestly this cool moment. And if we have kids who want to take that step of baptism, by all means, we'll do that. By all means, we will be a part of that as far as parent night goes. So We're excited to have them be a part of that, and then the end of the night, their kids come back in. We get to celebrate what that looks like. So let's talk through. You've got that schedule and the map that you should all have. So first of all, let's go to that next one, because there is a plan. Now, this is why this is super important, and there's times and there's a schedule, because you're talking roughly 300 kids that you got to move around this place somewhat orderly, because if we don't, we end up with a lot of tears. So this is why we're going to talk through this with everybody, so everybody understands why there's a lot of logistics behind this, okay? Everyone checks in and starts in building A. So that's where the check-in team comes into play. Their parents walk them into the main auditorium. They drop them off with you. All the crews there'll be big flags that say boombox, beats, turntable. Every crew will also then have a row with a number, okay? So you'll know this is where I sit, this is my kids. You will have a clipboard. So just like we do in Kidlife, you'll get a sticker that's going to go on that clipboard so you know what kids you have, so that you know who was there, if you need to make notes about things, all of that good kind of stuff. From there, the Zane and Michael show will be happening. As that happens, they'll be bringing kids up on stage. We'll be talking about theme nights here in a second. They'll be emphasizing some of those. From there, then you'll notice we go into our large group time. So large group time will involve an opening host piece. That host will get up, just literally it's 3 to 5 minutes of them just, we're so excited you guys are here. Here's a little bit what we're talking about tonight. We go right into worship. We do a few high energy songs. We always go to a low energy song just to kind of bring them down. Then we go right into teaching on the lesson. So the lesson is what you get to reinforce as you walk around, play games, crafts, small group throughout the night. So we'll reinforce that with some fun stuff on stage. And then from there, you will go into your rotation. Same rotation every night. It does not change. So where you go first the first night is where you go first the second night and the third night. So you can see there, the other thing you will get is one of these. I'm not giving them out right now. These will be at your areas, your crew rows. These will be in a bag that you will get that has some other supplies in it, little odds and ends that you might need throughout the night, tissues, hand sanitizer, that kind of stuff. These have your number on it. So your crew number as well as your group's schedule on the back. So you can look at that and know, but this is just your crew's schedule so that you know, hey, we start with gym, this is beats. So you start in the gym, we go to the loft, we go to auditorium C. Okay, here's the other logistical piece with this. Every time we dismiss a crew, we dismiss numbers 1 through 6 in that order. So that keeps us, because the way it works is that number 1 is the group that's always closest to the exit because they go first. So when you enter, number 6 will actually be closest to the front of the auditorium. A lot of logistics kind of with this to make sure this flows. So crew 1 leaves. Right after that is 2 for whatever crew you are a part of, all the way to 3. You follow that rotation. The other piece we will ask of everyone to help us out with, we're not doing bathroom breaks while you're moving kids. So if your kid has to use the bathroom, get them to the next station, wherever that is, crafts, loft, gym, wherever that is, and then get your group seated and then take them to the restroom so that we have them settled, we know where they're at, so we don't have huge lines at the bathroom. You will be shocked how many kids forget they need to go to the bathroom. I know it's shocking, but it happens, okay? Like I promise you, walking from the gym to here, it's shocking how that works. So you will rotate through each station, and ultimately you will end up back in auditorium A, where we would do a closing piece, and then parents will pick up. You will be part of that pickup, making sure that the right kid gets with the right parent. Just like in here, though, we will be checking tags. So as they leave, collectively, we will be checking tags as well and having you help us to verify that, to make sure that the right kid is going with the right parent. Obviously, you're going to get to know these parents. That's our hope, that you get to know who they are and you're comfortable with that and you start to have a rapport with them, because we want that as part of this. So the way that rotation works, let me show you a map. You also have a map of this. I think we got one we can throw up there. Okay, so everybody starts in auditorium A, which you can see up on the screen, which would be the top, what is that, right, of the screen there. Everybody starts there. From there, you will go one of three places, depending on where you are and what your rotation is. Either you start in the gym, the loft, or auditorium C. Now, the way the flow works is if you're in the gym, you go from the gym to the auditorium here. So you end up in here. In here, you'll have small group spaces designated. Here's the logic behind that. After you play a game, what does every kid need? Water, thank you, a drink. So if you're going to an area that has snack and drink, we don't have to stop at drinking fountains. We don't have to do that because they're already landing here. So they will already be here where they will get. So every time you can tell them, hey, you're thirsty? Great. Our next stop is small group where they will always get a small bottle of water. Small, that's the key, because they don't ever drink the big ones. And they'll get a snack as part of that. And Jen's team will be part of executing and making sure that those are here as far as that goes. You will have a few, I'll say, emergency bottles of water for that kid who you think, is dehydrated and is at the end of death because they haven't had a drink in 3 minutes. But, if you got to use it, we'll make it available at least for a few, but I would use that sparingly. And then from Auditorium C, you will go out these doors, and small group leaders, we will walk this here in a minute. You go out these doors up to the loft and then exit back down the exterior stairs to go into the gym or where game space is. So that's the flow. So everybody's flowing the same direction and not running over each other. So I can promise you the most grumpy I will get is if I see a small group leader try to take their crew exiting a door that they're not supposed to go out of, because you will create sheer chaos. I promise you. If you do not follow the path, you will be running into the next crew that's coming in. And we will all then be sorting out children of whose is whose and what's what. The other thing, every time you get to a station, we do want you to make sure you have all your kids, that they've all made it, which is where your rosters come in. What I would do, many of you have 3 leaders, some 2, but most have 3, is go ahead and designate, hey, these are your 6 kids, these are your 6 kids, these are yours, or 5, however many it is, so that you know and can always keep tabs, because you can remember 5 names for the most part. I don't expect you to remember 16 or 17 names. So you can, hopefully that is a good tactic, and we'll talk that more as small group leaders go. So we rotate around, and then from there, obviously you all make it back. Okay, so the other piece of that is that our goal is everyone will enter and exit building A. So if you're coming and parking, we're going to ask you to park on that side of the complex, meaning kind of the field, valley, whatever you refer to that as. There's parking up above, but we would encourage you to park there so you can come in. Okay, just logistically makes it a little simpler. Everything else will be locked down. We will have safety team on site, but this campus will be incredibly locked down because we do have so many kids here. Obviously, you are a part of that, which we'll get to here in a minute. Okay, so one of the things that's going to make this fun, and we hope you guys, on the back of your map, you have themes that we hope you embrace. So these themes are as follows. You can see, first night, these are simple themes. It's just a fun way to get kids involved. If they participate in themes, then they have a chance of getting on stage with Zane and Michael to play a game. To be a part of that, and if you play a game, you always get a prize. Like, that's the deal. There is an individual. His name is Barry. If you've never met Barry, I guarantee you've seen him, because Barry's the tallest guy in real life. He's part of our safety team. But Barry, about every Saturday, I get a text from Barry, and it essentially goes like this: hey, left some really fun things in your office. And I go in, and there are bags of toys, because Barry's heart is for kids. He doesn't necessarily want to serve with them, but he wants to love on them. And so he buys toys upon toys. I have had to buy, no kidding, 7 40-gallon totes to store all this stuff that he keeps giving me. I'm like, Barry, I keep having to buy storage totes. Like, you bring me so much, it's a good problem. But we get to give all that away. So we get to love on some kids and be able to do that as part of these nights. So first night is Crazy Sock Night, meaning wear fun, crazy socks. Second night is Crazy Hair Night. So we love to see your craziest hair look, mohawks, color, whatever you may want to go with that. If you got wigs, by all means, go for that. We are playing a fun stage game that night called Hair or Hair. I don't have a slide, but you can spell hair more than one way. You'll figure it out as we play it. The next one, the next night is Neon Colors Night. So really, we just want them to wear bright, fun colors. Easy enough. A lot of kids should have some of that. We'd encourage you to. And the last night is where you get to, as a group, decide what color your group would wear. So you can be all red, you can be all yellow, whatever that is. You're telling parents as they pick up on Wednesday night, hey, tomorrow's yellow night. Tomorrow is, whatever color you decide for your group, you can do that. So those are the 4 nights that we're going to have fun with. They're not hugely impactful on the overall content of the night. It's more just a fun way to get kids engaged and excited. One of the most exciting things we're going to do, though, is this slide right here, is Shining Light. So if you're not familiar with Shining Light is an organization that we support, Real Life helps to run, that supports kids in mid-India. So as part of that, we sponsor them. Right now, we sponsor about 9 kids. Those 9 kids are fully sponsored. It takes about $240 to sponsor a kid for a year. Our goal, you can do the math on this. If every kid that we had brings about $10, we get to $3,000. So our goal is about $3,000. We would love to break that. The incentive for them to do that, and we have a big volume button tracker. It's on the screen. It'll be a physical thing you'll see as well. The goal and kind of the incentive is the more money they raise, the bigger the bucket of slime gets. So you see where this is going. I will gladly take a giant bucket of slime. In fact, this is the biggest bucket that I have right now. So it will get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you can imagine how that will go. The more that they give, the more we get slimed. The other thing that we're going to do, just like I said, I'm all about encouraging them to give, is every kid who gives, doesn't matter if they give a penny, doesn't matter if they give $100, will get, you'll have raffle tickets. You'll write their name on it, and then at the end of the night, we'll draw names and give away prizes to kids who gave. So they give a penny, like I said, but you'll help us with that. You'll have raffle tickets. They'll put them in the bucket up front as they donate money to do that. Now, what if we break $3,000? Zane and Michael, can you do something for me? Go like this. Okay, thank you. Just put your fingers in your ears. If we break $3,000, don't tell Zane and Michael, but we'll slime them too. Great. So we don't need to tell them that, but it's okay. But needless to say, anything we can encourage kids to just get invested and to have a part in loving on others is huge, because that last night is all about I can make a difference, and that's a way that they can do that through Shining Light. So that is our giving program. Just a few other things before we break up here. Games, we have 4 nights of games. These are all super simple games. You'll have a team that will help to lead this with Bailey and Michael and Zane and company, as well as you guys. You guys as leaders are really there just to help facilitate, to keep kids engaged. If a kid gets out in a game, they come sit back with you, that kind of a thing, and they'll get to play again. So nobody wins, nobody technically loses. So line tag, sharks and minnows, you may have played these. If you haven't played them before, it's super easy. 4 corners, and then sheep herding. So sheep herding is literally pool noodles and balloons. It will be controlled, don't worry. And you have to herd balloon sheep around the room. So it's kind of crazy, kind of fun. You just imagine several hundred balloons and noodles, right? So needless to say, this is where you come to help us, because you're still engaged as a small group leader, as a leader in an area, making sure that things are keeping civil. So, 2 kids start trying to beat each other with pool noodles, it's okay to step in and say, we don't do that, and take the noodles from them. That's okay, right? So all of that will be lined out when we do that. Snack and craft in that area, I'm sorry, I don't know why, I think I put it wrong. Crafts, there we go. So crafts, there are 4 nights. The team that's up there will be helping to lead you through the crafts, but you will be helping your small groups to execute them. Okay, so you will still be helping. They're not doing it for you. That's not a time for you to take a break. It's actually a time where we probably need your hands on the most, where they will make sure the first night you're doing a tissue painting thing. Tissue paper, you paint it. It's a lot of fun. Duct tape bracelets. This one's cool because kids get to not only make something for themselves, but for somebody else. Sun catchers, if you've ever seen those, You put them up against the window, light shines through, and then the last one is really cool. It's plantable seed packets. So you'll see it, but essentially it's something they can take home and plant that we hope is kind of significant and grows over the course of time. Snacks, those will be provided for you each time. Every time they come in the snack area, they get a bottle of water. It'll always be water, as well as some pre-packaged snack. If you have kids who have allergies, it will be printed on their tags, as well as we have a list of some of those. But you might ask as well, parents, just to be mindful. We do have more allergy-sensitive snacks, but of course we want to, facilitate that as much as we can, because last thing we want to do is feed a kid something and then, which I will get to next, have to call our nurse. Is she in here? Did I see her come in? Did she come in? Where's she at? Oh, there she is. Okay, stand up for us. So I'd say probably one of the most important people that we have. This is Miss Mary Cisco. So she, and something I was praying about a lot, and I wasn't quite sure if God would show up, because why would I doubt? But to have someone who can step in, because when you have 200 and some odd, 300 kids, the chances of a medical issue arising are higher, right? I mean, it's just the reality, whether it's a skin knee, whether it's those kind of things. And so part of what Mary will be doing, she'll serve as part of our check-in team, but she will also be available to step in and help take those kids out of that environment, to assist. If a kid, maybe it's a Band-Aid, maybe it's a kid is sick and we need to pull them out and call parents, that she's a highly skilled medical professional. Let's put it that way. Not me, so that's good. So I'm super excited that she gets to step in. Now, the question becomes, and the last bit that we want to cover is, what about all this safety, security? How do we make sure this goes well stuff? First of all, one of the ways that we will get a hold of Mary are these. So all of our area leaders will have radios that cover the entire campus. We will be communicating with that. We wear these in Kidlife. We wear them all over. Our safety team wears them. We'll have safety team on site as well to assist with that as need be, just monitoring things. But we'll be communicating. So you have an issue, a kid happens to get hurt or sick, that's where your area leader, your coordinator says, they call on the radio, hey, we need some assistance. We step in, you get to keep leading your group. So where you're not, trying to administer first aid and play a game and do a craft all at the same time, right? That's just not fair. So they will step in and help with that. That's where your area leaders step in as well. They may feel confident getting a Band-Aid and taking care of that kid. They may feel like, hey, this is something we need Mary to step in. And one of the beautiful things is also helping with paperwork, because believe it or not, there is paperwork behind some of this, because we always want to make sure a parent knows, why did I show up and my kid has a Band-Aid, right? That we at least have some idea of, hey, they were playing a game, fell down in the gym, skinned their knee, we put a Band-Aid on it, right? Because stories grow as they get home, and it was, right, the story ends as they get home in the car, and I get a call, why were 7 kids dogpiling my child in the gym and suffocating them, and their knee got skinned, right? Like, no, that did not happen, right? We have a record of it. We have eyewitness accounts, but these are things that help us to make sure parents are confident that we're doing a good job with that. So we have that. As far as an emergency plan goes, so you all know what a fire alarm sounds like. We're not doing drills, so the best advice we can give you, and this is why we have radios, this is why we have safety team, this is why we have leaders all over. The best advice we can give you is look at your leaders, okay? If there's ever an issue, an emergency, look to your leaders to know where to go next. Do not panic, because as soon as you panic, obviously your kids do, right? That's just the reality of the situation. So heaven forbid we have to evacuate. Our evacuation spot, there's a covered portico at the back. That is a drive-under kind of thing that will still give us shade and shelter, but get us away from the building if, heaven forbid, there happens to be something we need to evacuate for. If, for whatever reason, there happens to be severe weather, we will direct you accordingly to areas that we might need to do that. But like I said, fire alarms are not a drill, so we start moving kids immediately to the closest exterior entrance, is what that is. The other piece of this, and a system we just installed, some of you who are more observant might have noticed some of these boxes around that say, what does it say, active something, what is it, threat? What does that one say? Active threat alert, that's what it is. Okay, active threat alert. We now have devices that if we we feel like there is someone on site, and I'm just going to be full honest with you, we feel like someone on site who will do harm to someone else, meaning an intruder with a gun, a weapon, those kind of things. We now have devices at locations kind of all over this place. I will not tell you where they are at because leaders know where they're at, because we want them to be responsible for initiating. That essentially we push a button and it calls. Oh, do you have one? Oh, yep, there it is. So it's this little button that we push, and if we hold it for 3 seconds, there's nothing stopping the Clermont SWAT from descending on this place. So like it's that. Like that's the severity of this. So this isn't a disgruntled parent alarm, okay? Like, okay, just because a parent happens to be mad and yell at you, this is not what we push it for, okay? We push this because we believe that there's somebody who's going to do harm to people on site. That's what we do. And believe it or not, it works because somebody for the wrong reason felt the need to push it on Thursday, and there were a lot of police cars. We had a worship service with police cars, so that was what that was, I think, or something to that effect. So let's just say it works. So that's a good thing. And it deploys, you'll see sirens, all kinds of stuff. The reason I tell you that is if we ever have an incident like that obviously we keep kids behind doors, we lock things down, we keep them safe, but so that you know that we're doing everything we can to make sure these kids are safe. Because unless we can guarantee parents safety and security, the reality is they shouldn't leave their kids with us. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. So we got to do everything we can to make sure that not only are they safe and secure, but their kids have an amazing time while they're here. Just want to make sure that you cover all of that. And now in the little bit of time we have left, we're going to have you break out with some of your groups. So if your bag, and it said on the bag, should have said, if you are part of the check-in team, I'm going to have you go with Miss Erin Lau. She's going to walk you over to Building A and just kind of point out where stuff's at and give you an idea. We've hit a little bit on that. So I'm going to let you go with that with Erin. Now, if you're part of Check-in Team Plus, we'll have you go to the other area. The other two areas, games are in the gym, and loft is crafts. So if you're a part of the craft team, Miss Kara Hudson will lead you. If you're part of the craft team, we'll let you head that way. No, there's a few people that came tonight, or today, it's not tonight yet, that came today that are not on lists yet, so we'll get them added in as we do that. So the crafts team with Miss Kara, we'll see her small group leaders here in a minute. And then games, Michael and Zane, I'm going to have you guys, if you're part of the games team, I'm going to have Michael and Zane help lead you guys just to show you the gym. I just want you to see where it's at. You guys know how to get there. Hey, Zane, there are game guides over here if you want to take those, just so everybody has one. I'll just have you lead them over there, and you can hey, by the way, once you're done with your breakouts, you're free to go. So don't feel like you got to stay around. Obviously, if you got other people, we'll do that. And then I think we did games. And then if you are part of small group and snacks, if you're part of small group and snacks, Miss Jen is at the back here. We'll have you powwow with her just so you can put a face to a name and know who she is. Pause 1 second. We'll get there for you guys as small group leaders. Okay, so that means the rest of you should be helping to lead a small group in some fashion or another. So our goal today is that if one of your people is here, that you get a chance to meet them. So that's why we've broken it out into tables. We'll walk around here in a minute because we want you just to physically understand the flow of how this whole thing is going to work and where we go, because that's going to be one of the most important keys to that. So let's cover a few things with you guys specifically that apply to you, okay? So you have 15 to 18 kids in your small group, okay, give or take, depending on the age and the group, all that fun stuff, okay? So your goal is to successfully navigate that group around this place, making sure that the kids you started with are the kids you end with, okay? That's a measure of success. We're going to go with it. So how does that work? Okay, first of all, I mentioned we always dismiss group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that order every time, wherever you're leaving. So no different. That way we create habits and routines that by the end, hopefully by Thursday, it's pretty simple. You take your kids in one line. So we get them lined up wherever we're leaving, line them up. If This is a struggle for your group. Your bags will also have a tag-along rope. If you've never seen a tag-along rope, you've never been to a preschool. If you need to deploy the tag-along rope, you can. The tag-along rope is a rope that has little handles, colored handles that you hold onto and follow the line, okay? So I'm serious about this. Like, we're going to get it moving, and they're going to understand. Like, that's not something you have to do. But obviously, we want your groups single file, caterpillar, so that you can navigate. Because especially as we walk out here, you'll see it gets a little narrow. So a horde of kids trying to get through certain places, it doesn't always work that well. So we want to make sure that you understand that. So as we think about that, a big part of what you guys do that's going to make this so helpful and so successful is group management, okay? It is essentially, you could call it classroom management. It is essentially setting standards and understanding that I've got to hold to those standards. So here's the thing. If you have a kid who's just consistently struggling, let's put it that way, okay, you have options. You have your coordinator. So you have Tisha and Amanda and Gabby, okay? These are people who can lay down the hammer, okay? That's okay, okay? I am more than happy to be a part of that solution as well. If we have a kid who sometimes just needs somebody to look him in the eye and say, you, me, and Jesus are going to talk right now, and you're going to knock it off, right? Because sometimes kids need that, right? The kind of nuclear threat, the nuclear option is we will call your parents. Now, I don't take that lightly. I don't back down from it. But if we have to get a parent, we will. And I guarantee you, if we have to do that, which I do not want to do, if we have to do that, the rest of your group will fall in line because they'll realize that you're not messing around, okay? Because in order for this to go well, in order to have fun, we also have to have guidelines and boundaries because it's just not fun for you guys or those kids or anybody else to have those few kids who think they can just be knuckleheads the entire time and distract and not do what's been asked of them and take supplies from others or not play the game right, all of those things. So we want to make sure that we're doing that, obviously, in a loving way. So one of the first things that we always do, if you have a kid that struggles, talk to their parent. Like, not in a mean way, not in a your kid was terrible tonight way, but in a, hey, your kid struggled, and is there something we can do to help them, right? Tell us a little bit more, like Johnny. And a lot of times, if you approach it that way, parents are less likely to be combative, but also they'll either help you find solutions or they will be the solution. And Johnny will show up the next day, possibly behaving better, but probably with an apology note. Like that happens. Like, parents don't want to hear that from their kid. But we also want to do that in a way that says, listen, we want Johnny to have a great time. We want him to do it really well. We want him to enjoy this, but he can't enjoy it if he's not following the instructions and that. And we always end. We will always end with, we love having your kid here. Like, no parent will ever leave here believing anything different than we love having your kid here. We'll help navigate them, and love sometimes means taking hard steps to make sure that this is best for everybody, but we'll help them with that. And so part of that is, what does it look like every time you stop? Okay, so you're in an area. Every time, every place you're at will have your area marked. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's where you take your kids. In those areas, up in crafts, it'll be a table. So every kid will be seated at that table, and unless they need to use the restroom, which we don't utter that word out loud, because as soon as you do, you can ask my son Zane, who filled in for a kindergarten group, and at some point he said, "Who needs to use the restroom?" And I took 15 kids to the restroom. So you can imagine every kid had to use the restroom, and they didn't, but you know what it is. But you get them seated. So in crafts, it's tables. In here, it's dots. Every kid will have a dot that they will sit on. So there will be small group spaces, basically 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You'll see them lined out. Jen and company will help you guys to navigate that if you don't know. There will be Velcro dots. They're about this big. Okay, there will be 18 of those in your area. Every kid sits on a dot and stays on a dot. Okay, everybody, whether they're 6th grader or 1st grader, it's gonna help you out. We put them in a place where they can still see the screens. We'll talk about what that looks like here in a second. But then in games, okay, we can't do dots on the floor, but you will have an area where your kids will sit, and you will help define that for them, and then they will be engaged in the game from there. So anything you can do with that is hugely important. Now, like we said before, you've got coordinators helping to lead crafts and games. Where you lead the most is in this space right here. So this space, you've gotten guides about what the activities are every night. Super simple. Typically, it's one activity and a prayer time. Like, that's really what we're living on when it comes to small group. You have 20 minutes, it will fly by. The reality is you're probably going to have about 10 minutes of solid time. Like, that's just what it comes down to by the time you get them settled. The other thing we will do in here is do a recap Bible story. It's about 3 minutes. That's part of the curriculum. So they'll watch a quick story that just reminds everybody, hey, tonight we talked about Zacchaeus, da-da-da-da-da. That will filter into your lesson. Honestly, run your group the way you feel like it's going to be most successful and have the biggest impact. So if you've got a lot of kids and you look at an activity and you say, that's the worst activity I've ever heard for this group, don't do it. It's okay. Like, it's okay to not do it. Like, I'm giving you permission. Yes, we would love for you to do all of them, but know that the activities are designed for first and second, third and fourth, fifth and sixth. Fifth and sixth actually have some additional discussion questions in there. The papers that were on your table, the black and white copies that got distributed, those are time fillers. So you will also have those available. So if you're like, hey, these kids are like, they need something else, we kind of blew through stuff, or you can do those with them as well. Just a couple of things. I think one of them's a little better than the other, but a lot of these kids most of them should be able to write enough to be able to do that well. So this space is where you really kind of are the biggest emphasis. You're the biggest controlling factor because you're guiding that discussion, which is where we encourage you to say, hey, break your kids down into, if it's me and 7 kids, great. If it's you and 5 kids, great. Whatever that is, so that you have your kids and you could actually manage that a little better would be our goal. Now, that's going to be between you and the other leaders to some degree, just with what works and what makes sense. If you're like, hey, you take boys, I take girls, cool. Like, if you're like, hey, you take these kids because they're friends. Most of your groups have kids who have friends they've requested to be in their group. So know that. Know that also, if that is an issue, we will deal with that as well. So know that friends are great together, but friends can also be friendly. Let's put it that way. Maybe that's a nice way of putting that. So know that we're okay with that. So you have one activity, you have one prayer. You will also have a take-home card. That take-home card will be something you'll give every kid as they leave. At the end of the night, it'll be in your backpack. It just reemphasizes what we've talked about that night, and is an opportunity for you to put that in the hand of a parent or the child and say, hey, tomorrow night, by the way, don't forget tomorrow night is crazy hair night, whatever that is. And always making sure parents know, like, hey, we hope you had a great time. We love having your kid here. Like, just emphasizing that is going to be huge. So we mentioned bathrooms, and then the biggest thing that we could ask you, and we will get these out to you. I intended to have printed sheets, but a printer was giving me fits, where you have the actual names of your kids, so that you can start praying for them, because we do believe that God brought them here with a purpose and wants to have an impact on their lives. We think that's the reason that we're here. And so we want you to already be praying for them. Obviously, this is in about 2 weeks. We will gather at 6 o'clock in Auditorium A for a brief huddle where we just get to pray together. We get to talk about if we need to change something. That's a moment for us to be able to do that, to say, hey, you know what? We got to tweak this because that did not work, and we're okay to say that, by the way. Like, if that's not working, we don't want it to continue to not work. So that'll be that moment. So we ask you to be here by 6. If you get here a little earlier, we will have snacks and some other stuff in the lobby for leaders, just for you guys to have that. But other than that, we do encourage you to come eat. We will not do a full meal every night as far as that goes, so you can just be prepared for that. And then if you have younger kids who are preschool and younger, you can drop them off at 6 in our nursery hallway. So you drop them off and then head on over is the idea there. So I think that covers most everything